Welcome back to Up West Sports. Mariners finish at home, getting a win. It's now 1-1. They head on the road to Detroit. What's the rest of this series going to look like? That's what we're here to talk about today. We got Connor Webb in the house. We will be right back with this short message.
Baseball stuff! Baseball stuff!
All right, let's get back into it. Mariners coming back 1-1. The first two games, 3-2 either way. Lot to like, lot to love, lot to hate. Just intense every pitch. My heart is just continuously going. But first, wanted to get to our special guest, Connor Webb with Couch GM. He has done just a fantastic job in this community. He's helped us, upraise into this community and everything. Connor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. I have to say that intro is electric. I love that.
Very much
the
appreciative.
Video clips and the music. Yeah.
And shout out to actually my wife's cousin. He actually works on audio engineering. He created that song for a video game so long ago.
Oh,
he now has the rights back to it. So he was gracious enough to let us use it for the podcast. So shout out to Stefan Costeras. But first and foremost, if you're not already, make sure to follow, subscribe, check out our friend here, the Couch GM podcast. There's his link to his socials and everything. If you're following us and not following him, I don't know why, because most of the guys that are following us, or most of the people that are following us, probably came here from him as well. But just in case you're not, make sure you are. Connor is just a staple in this community, and it has really helped us kind of grow.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, absolutely. And honestly, wanted to kind of get into first question, recap of the series. What are your guys' thoughts? We're 1-1. Where are we at? We can kind of, Connor, since you are our guest, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts through these first two games?
I feel much better after yesterday's game. I was very nervous before first pitch yesterday. I'm not going to lie. I was very nervous. Jorge Polanco from April came out to play yesterday, and let's hope that continues throughout the rest of the series and the playoffs. And, in the post game, David Ortiz, Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, they're all talking about maybe Jorge Polanco is the guy that no one's been talking about, kind of like a Kike Hernandez for the Dodgers, that he comes out of nowhere and in the postseason kind of carries a team a little bit or just comes up in clutch moments. What if Jorge Polanco is that it factor for the Mariners? Obviously, there's Cal Raleigh, that's the MVP. There's Julio Rodriguez, that it seems that, second half Julio is also playoff Julio, which is great, just his production there. But the guy that no one's talking about, at least nationally, has been Jorge Polanco. So game one was rough. Obviously, the bats didn't come out. Julio and Cal both go 3 for 5. The rest of the lineup don't get a single hit. We could talk about the Kirby decision, which obviously people are conflicted about. And then the difference in usage yesterday in the game, and just the fact that they were able to battle and come up with those scrappy runs at the end and pull off a victory against Tarek Skubal, the third time beating him this year. I mean, you got to feel really good heading to Detroit now.
I couldn't agree more. Like I mentioned, to kind of start this whole bad boy off, every single pitch, it's so heightened, and honestly, just being able to hear, and I don't know if you can hear it through the TV, but I feel like they mute our crowd when they get too loud. So props to our crowd for getting that loud that they're muting us, because it feels like it's just muted as soon as I hear a home run or something like that. But I've heard it's just absolutely electric. The fans brought exactly what the fans were supposed to bring. So shout out to anybody who's going to the game or anybody who went to the game. You brought the thunder, and we needed it.
Shout out Chad.
Shout out Chad, one of our Twitterless
Jealous.
Chad, who is able to send us some vids and everything. So if you're following us on Twitter, you probably got to see some really cool videos, especially Polanco's home run. Nolsey, what's your thoughts on the first two games?
I have to first piggyback off just how electric playoff baseball is. I was driving back from the coast with my wife, and just kind of talking about just the games, and it's how cool it is when we throw a strike and the crowd goes nuts. Like it's just everyone's in that moment where it's amazing. It kind of makes you go, the last 20 years of just how much we've missed, and I think how close we had been. I mean, I think it was a tale of two different games, right? Obviously, the results of how the runs were scored was essentially the same. First game, it was Cal and Julio, 3 hits apiece, and then this last game a little more balanced. Obviously, Jorge coming up huge for us, and I think just having our team having the belief of we beat Scooble twice so far, why not beat them again? So I think you have to have that type of confidence for the rest of the series. And then you look at the pitching. The starters have been lights out. I think with keeping Kirby in that last one, I would agree that was the right move. I mean, it just happened to be Carpenter's 5 for 11 with 5 home runs off of him. I mean, it's just the one guy that just happens to get him. Could he have thrown a different pitch somewhere? Sure. That probably would have been more effective to a team that hits the fastball really well. But again, like Connery said it best, hindsight's 2020. We just got to move on. But I agree. It was feeling much better after that game. Just I think better at bats. Maybe just that those first game jitters. People kind of went, okay, we're playing baseball, regardless of the month, where the stakes. It is baseball, and I think guys are kind of taking a breath, and I think it showed yesterday.
Yeah, and I agree. Hindsight's always going to be 2020, but and it's kind of weird. I guess not weird. It's playoff baseball. Anything can happen, but not seeing this offense kind of go to the start that we really wanted to. Granted, we saw Scooble and we saw Troy Melton, who he's got less data on him. We've always as a Mariners team, we've always struggled against guys that we don't have enough information on. But I was just hoping for one of those games to be a statement game and just be, come out and club swing, and didn't happen. But now maybe we can do that going into Detroit. I'm hoping that now that we head out to Detroit, we can make one of those a statement game where, the hit parade just continues. That brings us. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just have one more thought on the series so far, and happy to hear your thoughts too. But I mean, we had the week bye. Obviously, the last time that we were in the playoffs, we were right into the wild card. From this week, it seems that the hitters are going to take a little time catching up, or that it's taken a little time to knock off that rust from that week of not having an actual game. The pitchers are dialed in, but the hitters might just need these first couple games to get going, and we might see the offense come alive here in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. We had 6 days off from our last game till Saturday, and I like that Dan put together those 2 scrimmage games midweek, trying to keep the atmosphere alive, trying to keep the competition level high. It's definitely not the same as playing in front of 47,000 plus. It's definitely not the same as facing an opponent, but he did try and mitigate that problem a little bit by adding those 2 in. You're still going to succumb to not being able to play in actual games, and that's either hit or miss. You either get the rest and you're able to come back comfortable, or sometimes it plays with it's a mind game, and it plays with you, and you got too much rest. No, that's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that I was thinking of too. Did this 6 days off play it a little bit of a factor to the slow start from the offensive perspective? Speaking of offensive perspective, there's a potential no-nailer. We did get confirmation he did not travel. There's a good chance we won't see him in tomorrow's lineup. First of all, congrats to him and his wife I guess it hasn't been announced quite yet, but congrats to him and his wife for getting to this point, and hopefully everything goes swimmingly. But thoughts from you guys on the potential no-nailer situation?
Kyle, do you want it?
Sure. I think one thing that I think that would hurt is just kind of his presence, just the way, the demeanor. I think the way that he's kind of lit a fire. So I think that's unfortunate. But I think we've got enough guys in place that, while, him not in the lineup is not anything I would say is ideal, I think we have people in place that we can make the shift and put our possessions to still be extremely, have a good long lineup, and yeah, there's not much more I can go through it, but it's. I'm not. It's a bummer, but at the same time, I think we have people in place to help us continue to move forward.
Yeah, you don't like to lose, a first baseman that can go 30-30. Basically, it's not just his bat, it's also in the base path, it's also in the clubhouse. And just looking at in September alone, he had a 179 weighted runs created plus. So, I mean, he was one of the most productive hitters on the team. Only Cal Raleigh and Jorge Polanco were higher than him in weighted runs created plus. So hopefully Josh Naylor is back for game 2. Worst case scenario, well, I'm not even going to talk about game 5 because we're going to sweep them these next 2 games, so it'll all be good.
The corgi that chooses all the winners had us in 4, so hopefully the corgi is correct on this one. Well, I mean, without Naylor, the current infield, are we for sure? Is it Gino at first? Are we putting Ben Williamson at third? Are we moving Polanco to first? I've seen Mastroboni potentially taking some reps over at first. I would imagine Gino gets the call, and Mastroboni's just kind of there as a supplemental late inning, whatever the case may be. But he's another guy that can play first kind of later in the game. But what are your thoughts around the infield with this move? Is it Gino, or where are you guys at with that?
Do we know if Gino's played first base before?
He's played a couple innings.
I can take a look.
We also have Rayleigh.
Because my thought is if he hasn't played first base, you're not putting Eugenio Suarez at first base to try to learn a new position in the playoffs, right? Yeah, I think Luke Rayleigh makes the most sense at first base. He just, his bat has been not up to par the past month, but, coming back from injury, I just don't think you put a guy there that's going to be for sure defensive liability.
3 total games in 2025, so at least it's recent.
Okay.
But he has 3 games. He spent 2 games with the Mariners at first and 1 game in Arizona at first.
Okay.
So confirmation on that. He does have experience. He doesn't come very...
Put him at first.
well, yeah, put him at first. Yeah, he's our first baseman. He's Casey Kochman 2.0. So, yeah, I agree. I think that you dabble with the idea of Gino, but I think you're right. I think it's a potential, Luke Rayleigh takes off over there, and Gino maybe, spells him, or, just you kind of move the yard around a little bit. Nosey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you can go Rayleigh. I mean, I think if you look at the last 2 games, I think Naylor, no, I think he doesn't have a hit yet either this series, neither does Rayleigh. So in terms of what's happened so far this series, there's not a big shift in production. But Rayleigh is a good base. He is fast, I think maybe deceptively. Especially put him in the outfield, you kind of go, wow, I didn't think you're going to get that ball. So, and I think he's a very sturdy first baseman. So I'm comfortable with him there. Left-handed bats, you're not losing that piece. And maybe the idea that he's like, hey, I know I'm going to get 3-4 at bats this game, maybe gives him that boost, and can get a little more comfortable in the box, and maybe we see kind of the production that we're normally used to seeing with Rayleigh. And again, the injury, oblique, that's a hard one to come back from. So, why not be the time to bust out and put a couple across the board.
I do think Rayleigh makes the most sense at first base, but I'll also note that Jorge Polanco was taking reps at first base also. Who you put at second base then, that's another conversation.
Yeah. And that's a good question. Honestly, I was thinking Luis Rivas, especially in a bigger park where you get some guys that aren't home run hitters, this might actually play into their advantage. If you start utilizing Ben Williamson, who's not known for putting the ball over the fence, and you got a couple guys that can kind of spread the gap, that single in the gap now officially scores a run. That heater down the lines, it's now for sure scoring runs, especially in this bigger ballpark. So it just food for thought. I'm not saying that they have to start, but maybe off the bench, maybe in just some capacity, you start seeing the guys that are not known for putting the ball over the fence, and you have that good, happy balance of some of those hitters, especially late in the game. And I'm assuming we're going to see just what we saw, just a good pitcher's duel, or at least just good games where they're going to be 1 to 2 run games. So that's my thoughts on that specific situation. Kyle, go ahead.
Did Cole Young, did he make the squad for the playoff for the LDS, or that's another option second as well? Okay.
Yeah.
But looking
And
at
then,
his September numbers, he had a negative 44 weighted runs created plus. So I might think twice. He was 1 for 21
yeah,
in September.
and between Polanco and Rivas, I think those are your dynamic duo for second base. Both of them are just doing too well to kind of
Mhm.
give it straight to a rookie that's not quite on the best path right now. But just having him, Harry Ford, Colt Emerson around the dugout, even though Colt's not quite on the travel roster, just having him around the dugout is huge for what we're trying to build for the future and everything. I say we like we're a part of the team, but it's way. Speaking of Polanco, you guys brought it up earlier. Wanted to kind of touch on that. Does Polanco continue breaking out, or what other players emerge, or what other players need to emerge for the Mariners to kind of take this series? Yeah, Connor, if you want to take it over with just players, if you want to continue with Polanco, or if there's anybody else that you were thinking.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, Jorge Polanco very well could be that guy if we see. I forget which month it is exactly. I started looking up his stats, and I'm not sure it was April, but I'm pretty sure it was that first month of the year to where, I mean, he was a top 4 hitter in baseball. The other guy that I think obviously needs to break out is going to be Dominic Canzone. He had a breakout season this year. He led the team in batting average with a 300 batting average, while also producing the power at the plate. He DH'd game 1. I think if he starts tapping into that power and gets into a few balls, batting 7, 8, 9, wherever he is, I think that would be a big X factor because the 1 through 6 is there. They're going to produce. It's just a matter of getting it to click. But if Dominic Canzone can take his regular season production and bring it into the playoffs, that could be a huge X factor.
Yeah. And Polanco is kind of run with what's hot right now. I'd love to see Polanco just take the rest of this series and just make it his. But yeah, no. And Nolsey, what are your thoughts on just any other players that you would like to see emerge or need to emerge? Or is it the Polanco show and we're just here to watch?
I think his production was phenomenal in that game too. I don't think we can rely on it being that's pretty impressive to hit 2 home runs off Tarek Skubal. I don't think that happens a whole lot. I go buy a lotto ticket if that was me, but that's just the standard guy here. But I think for us, I think getting some small ball along with kind of the home run production. What JP did was phenomenal, and I think it kind of created a spark, just something different. For me, I think a guy that I think needs to step up, and maybe not in the way that others would think, is Gino. A lot of strikeouts, and I know he's a home run hitter, but if that guy could put one of those balls that he just absolutely destroys, if he can get that thing flatter, hell, I'd be okay with him trying to put that thing on the ground and say, hey, I'll hit a 105-mile pitch right at you. You go play with this. Just something. I think that's kind of what's killed us a lot, is just all these pop-ups. I mean, even yesterday for Skubal, I probably counted 3, 4 just pop-ups in the infield. I mean, that doesn't do a lot for us. So I would love to see Gino just get the ball in play. And he does, when he puts the ball in play, good things happen. And I looked at last game, I think we were 10 Ks last night. I think we were 10 Ks the night before. Even if half of those strikeouts were turned into, let's just say they were outs by a ground ball, a fly ball, that is at least putting the game in motion. And it's playoff baseball. Crazy things happen. So that would be ultimately my thing with Gino. Just, hey, let's turn some of those strikeouts into outs or playable balls and see what happens.
Honestly, Kyle, I'm actually same guy, but just different direction. I would actually be okay if he strikes out, if he goes 2 for 20, but those 2 hits happen to be home runs that are capitalized. And that's kind of what the postseason that we've seen in the past. You see guys that go 2 for 20, but they had 2 bombs. Mm-hmm. I think, what was it? Christian Vasquez for the Red Sox a couple years ago. I think he had that grand slam. It was like 1 hit of the whole series and everything. That's what I'd like to see from Gino, but you're not wrong. I'd like to see Gino be able to step up and be able to make that, that clutch hit Even if it's just 1 or 2 and it's bringing us back to a tie game late in the game, or it's a go-ahead home run. That's what I'd like to see from Gino. Even if he's striking out, he's 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and that one Jimmy Jack that brings us the victory. That is what playoff baseball is all about, and I would be okay with that. You're not wrong though. The other guys in the order, I'd like to see less strikeouts. However, it's school, man. The guys are just hanging on by a thread, just trying to get through school. But they found themselves on the winning end, and that's what we love about this team is we find ways to beat the big dogs. But then Troy Melton ends up giving it to us for 4 innings and ends up finding a win. So yeah, I wanted to at least acknowledge your point. I think you're correct with Gino. I'd like to see him be that guy that steps up. Just hopefully it's one way or the other. If it's in your direction or mine, either way, this is playoff baseball, and I'm all about it. And then just kind of moving over to the pitching staff. We've seen some good pitching over 2 games. Granted, it's just been 2 games. It's been at home. We expect it to be good. However, this season has been such a roller coaster of emotions from our pitching staff. But wanted to get to your guys' thoughts on the first 2 games and just maybe expectations for the rest of the series as we head to a new ballpark. What are your guys' thoughts on the current pitching staff, bullpen and all?
So starters feel very confident. I mean, what we saw with Kirby minus 1 pitch, and Castillo, he's been pretty solid. I mean, just throughout the entire, I think he's been just very, very consistent in what he's done. You got Gilbert coming tomorrow, which super stoked on. To me, the starters is not where I am kind of concerned so much. It's something I've been kind of concerned with all year is our depth and the bullpen. That's my biggest concern. I mean, you've got your A guys of Spire, Brash to Munoz, but they can't pitch every 6 through 9 or 10 or 11, just depending on how the game goes. So and then, let's say Gilbert doesn't go, he goes 4 innings, okay, is Emerson going to come? Is he our guy that, hey, we need 3 out of you because we got to protect the bullpen a little bit for potentially 4 or 5. So that's where I'm at there.
Yeah, first speaking to the rotation, obviously looking forward to getting Brian Wu back. He would have been the game 1 starter if he was healthy coming into this. Let's hope he's here for the ALCS. But then moving to, Kirby, Castillo, Gilbert, you know what you're going to get. Those are all aces as well. And I'm just as confident in those guys as I would be with Brian Wu, even though Wu has been head and shoulders above everybody else. Bryce Miller, it's going to be interesting to see what he does and how he's used, because right now the speculation is that he's going to be starting game 4, whether they end up going with him or if they just go with Kirby and then move Bryce to a bullpen role. But you want to have Bryce Miller stay stretched out in case you do need him, whether it's this series or next series. You got to have that 4 starter ready to go, and you can't bank on Brian Wu being healthy in the next one. And then speaking of the bullpen, I'm very confident. Even Vargas, it's like, look at the stuff that he's throwing. He's throwing 99 with sink. I mean, I'll put that up against anyone. He is wild, effectively wild at times, but sometimes too wild. We saw the other day, he walked a guy, pass ball that kind of cost you the game. So, like you mentioned, I mean, the back end of the bullpen, nails, starting rotation is nails, and I think they're in a great spot. Once this offense catches up, it's gonna be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, we are continuing off of the September bullpen that we've seen that was just nails, and you just love to see that in the postseason. Granted, we're at home, so it'll be interesting to see what happens once we go, on the road, and just what we see kind of moving forward and everything. I did want to get to, I believe, a couple questions here from Sean. How bummed are y'all about the afternoon games to close out the series? LOL. I'll make sure to put in an LOL on that as well. Just, I guess, to kind of touch on that one, this is what playoff baseball is all about. You're gonna get times, if it's gonna East Coast time, West Coast time, If I was on the East Coast, and sometimes it's a 6 p.m. game. Well, the game didn't start till 9. Once upon a time, I used to live out in North Carolina, and some of those games would go until damn near midnight and everything. So I guess it's give and take. And living on the West Coast, yeah. If hopefully if you're in an opportune spot at work, you can kind of get to that and everything. I don't know. Are you guys able to watch these midday games during the week?
I work from home, so I'll have the screen over here, and then I'll have the work over there. But I mean, my response is like, what's new? I mean, the Mariners or just West Coast, Pacific Northwest sports being pushed out of the national market. Like, these are games that you want to watch if you're a baseball fan, but they're not going to be the evening game. So it is what it is.
Yep. It's like when your football team doesn't get prime time.
Pac-12, the dark, good times,
Stay
up until 2 a.m. watching that Pac-12 game. You won't regret it.
Mariners at noon.
If you're an East Coaster.
Also, hey, shout out to Christian Raw with College Football Blueprint. Thank you for showing up. I was actually very blessed to jump on his podcast last night talking about Seahawks, but wanted to give him a quick shout out and everything. And just kind of continuing our thoughts and questions here. Thoughts on Dan Wilson's managing? We've seen some very close games. We ended up on the losing end on one side. We ended up on the winning end on one side. Dan Wilson going from regular season to now postseason. Dan, what are you guys' thoughts? How are we liking where Dan's keeping this organization right now?
Well, I guess I'll talk about my thoughts of the Kirby decision. Myself personally, there's people that are super loud about, oh, they should have pulled him, all this and that. It wasn't George Kirby that was pitching on Saturday. That was Furious George. He was 97-99 with sink in the first inning. Even when he was, pulled after the fifth inning, he was still 97. He looked phenomenal. He ended up with 8 strikeouts. Of course, there's the prior history with Kerry Carpenter, 4 home runs in 10 at bats versus him. How I see it is that's a 60% chance that you get him out. My grief with that is the pitch selection. Obviously, if that pitch, the prior pitch was off on the plate, we've seen George Kirby front door Shohei Ohtani to where he's bailing out of there, and then it comes into the strike zone. I mean, and then you look at the pitch that he actually hit out of the park. It's up at his shoulders. You have to give him credit for that, but why don't you go with the changeup down and away or a slider down in the dirt? You've got essentially 2 pitches that you can work with before it's a full count. So that was my only grief, really. And then George Kirby was at 83 pitches, a guy on second base. It's a different situation than the next day where Luis Castillo now has a guy on first and third. He's at 85 pitches. And then, Kerry Carpenter comes up again and he goes to Gabe Spire that time, and it obviously pans out. I'll just say Gabe Spire right now has a 58 strikeout to 2 walk ratio over 36 and a third innings pitched at T-Mobile Park this season, including regular and postseason. That's a 14.46 strikeouts per 9 and a 29 strikeout to walk ratio. Like, you're not getting a hit off of Gabe Spire, but do you really want to, in game 1 of a series, go to Gabe Spire in the 4th inning when you could extend Kirby and you don't know what you're dealing with the rest of the series? You got to try to get length out of these starters.
Yeah, Spire's absolutely friggin' fantastic right now. And just we saw it in spring training too. I guess to just kind of rewind a second. He was coming out in spring training 96, 98. And I was like, all right, we might see a different Spire right here. I believe it was at the game you and I were at here. They were playing Oakland, which they'll always be Oakland to me, but they were playing the Athletics down here at Hohokam. And Spire comes out of the pen and he's sitting 96, 98. And just indicative of the season. The guy was electric this whole year. He's been, in the words of Jay's Trident, Joe, thank you for the quote. He's been one of the best left-handed pitchers in all of baseball out of the pen. I believe he's the most utilized reliever in baseball. It should be. The guy's electric. Nosey, what are your thoughts on Dan Wilson's managing?
I think in the regular season, my biggest kind of gripe with him was just not. There were times where I think he could have inserted himself into the game to help elevate his team in the moments of, just whether it was a bad call or just kind of a potential momentum shift. So far this series, like I've seen a little bit more, like they've panned over to him. You can tell he is kind of yelling at the ump. He is saying something. And so I think there's been a change there that I really like. Again, I'm not asking the guy to go full Lou, start kicking stuff, but at least have a little bit of show a little bit of emotion. And because I think the players they definitely gravitate towards that, and they go, "Hey, my coach has got me." And so I've really enjoyed seeing that kind of that evolution from the beginning of the year to now. Again, Connor, you're spot on. I think with the decision to keep Kirby there, I think he threw 3 straight fastballs in that scenario. Which again, the Tigers are a phenomenal fastball hitting team. I think he could have buried one, could have just thrown one, change an eye angle, and then come back to that pitch. Because again, you said it was a upper fastball that Carpenter made a really good swing on, but it almost at that point goes, did he have like an inkling that's where it was going to be? Because to get on top of that, I mean, the stars align. So
when you
whoever
see the
wanna
same
blame
pitch
on that
3
pitch,
times,
yeah,
you're gonna probably be ready for it at some point.
You're ready for it. Now
Exactly.
you're just guessing on where it's going to be and everything. And the guy had quick hands. He knew what pitch was coming. He guessed correct that it was up in the zone. Actually up out of the zone, I should say. That thing was probably 3 or 4 inches up out of the
Yeah.
strike zone. Props to Kerry Carpenter for still hitting that. I also have to throw my hat in the ring with you guys. I know most of Mariners Twitter that I've seen with this discourse is not in love with Dan for that call. I like the decision to keep him in. It's postseason baseball. His juices are flowing. Obviously, he's electric with 97, 99. I trust Furious George more than I trust regular season George, and that was it didn't pan out. And I agree. It was probably pitch selection and just pitch location. Even though it was up out of the zone, just didn't come to fruition. However, the one I guess I can be just a little nitpicky on, and overall, I guess just to give my thoughts on Dan, he's done a fantastic job. We've seen him just grow throughout the year. I know Kyle, you had your gripe with just him just showing emotion. We started to see that once they, were able to pop champagne in the clubhouse. You saw a little bit of fired up, and I'm hoping that we can continue that path and just see a fired up Dan throughout the entire postseason. But I think you're starting to see him be more meticulous with his thoughts. When you're seeing him play for not just game to game, but pitch to pitch and inning to inning, when you're starting to see him break that down, I think you're seeing Dan's ability to manage a game at a very high level. So I got to give props to Dan, because I know most of us fans have been critical of his calls for most of the year. So when he does well, I want to make sure that that's known. So Dan, props to you for most of the stuff. The one area that I did have maybe just a question about was the choice to go 2 innings with Munoz as you go into the extra innings. It's definitely not the wrong choice, but my thoughts were, as you get into extra innings, Munoz has done his job, and now you still need him for potentially every game. Like, we're expecting every single game of the series to be 1 run. So the choice to go with him for 2 innings rather than go with, Bryce Miller was potentially talked about as coming out of the pen. You have Emerson Hancock, who can go extended, who's been good out of the pen. There was a couple of different directions that you could have gone, and we still haven't seen Emerson Hancock. So I would assume if it goes into extras, he's probably the first one on that list. But I can also understand the other side of that argument, where you're trying to get that first game win, and the best chance is with your best pitcher. I can also understand that. Just playing the long game, I would have maybe thought about going to Emerson Hancock, but also, hey, I'm not going to rake him over the coals. Dan's done a fantastic job. I want to make sure that that's known. I want to make sure that that's at the service level. But yeah, Dan's done well. This team is definitely on the right course heading into the next part of the series. Speaking of series around the league right now, we got the Blue Jays up 2-0 over the Yankees, and I think most of us Mariners fans are kind of happy with that. However, if we happen to make it to the next round and have to face the Blue Jays, hopefully they can cool off, because what the heck is going on over there? They cannot stop hitting. Brewers are up 1-0 over the Cubs, and I believe last time I had checked, they were up 4-3. I'm not sure if the game
7-3 now.
It's 7-3, and Brewers looking like they're that much closer to getting 2-0 up on the Cubs. And then Dodgers are up 2-0 over the Phillies. right now, as it stands, we're the only split series, and we're going to see pretty much, we're kind of hoping to see a dogfight. Hopefully we end this thing in 4, but kind of the dogfight is happening right here at our very own home. But yeah, I guess thoughts on the rest of the league. Is there a team that you absolutely do not want to see? I mean, you got to face the best to be the best. But Connor, Kyle, is there any team out there that you're just like, I hope we don't have to run into them? Hopefully they get knocked out.
Right now, it's the Blue Jays. I mean, they scored 23 runs the past 2 games against the Yankees. You see Trey Yesavage. We took Durangelo Sanja 15 overall. Blue Jays took Trey Yesavage 20th overall. I mean, he's just got unique stuff. They've got the rotation, obviously the bats like Vladdy is there ready to go. And obviously the Dodgers too. I mean, their bullpen is suspect, but now they have Roki Sasaki as the closer. I mean, the Brewers, Jake Mizorowski is now a reliever. And we talked in a prior episode about, how he's throwing a 101, 102 as a starter. Like, put him in the bullpen. What does he get up to? Tonight, he had 2 pitches over 104, 7 pitches over 103, 31 pitches over 100 miles an hour. So there's quite a few teams that I don't want to face. The Brewers are a sleeper. I mean, they're not a sleeper anymore. They're taking out the Cubs pretty quickly. But long way of saying, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are dangerous. But Blue Jays, Brewers, and then Dodgers, I would say.
Yeah. And spot on with Mizorowski. When I heard that they were moving him to the pen and saw that he was up to 104 in the minor leagues, that's danger. That's danger. And, props to anybody that ends up finding a way on base off of him. Nosy, what are your thoughts? Anything from around the league that you're just like, all right, hopefully we can avoid this situation?
So the Blue Jays, I mean, as hot as they are right now, I feel like we've always competed well. I mean, we know how well Cal does when he goes and plays in Toronto. I'd have to go kind of look at the year itself and say, well, the team that gave us the most issues were the Phillies. So to me, that's my most team that I'm most afraid of when it comes to the kind of the remaining playoff teams, especially for the National League, just because of kind of what they did to us. Now, again, that was kind of in I would say maybe our final kind of lull before we really took off, in the second half, but we still did not look good in that series, where I feel like we've been, even against the Brewers, we were competitive. I think we took 2 or 3 from them in that 1-3 game midway through the year. I might be wrong there.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
But
yeah.
But beyond all the teams that are still in it, like, I feel like we've been competitive against everybody except the Phillies. That was the only one we did. But again, it was 1 3-game set. Didn't get a chance to play like a home and home. So, again, I think I'm confident in this team, and and again, that's the only team. There's only one team I truly just feel like kind of had our number, I guess, maybe throughout the year.
Yeah,
I just noticed another guy, Shane Bieber, with Blue Jays. Like, they got Bieber in it. Look, he looks like his prime self.
Yeah. There's a lot of good talent. That's what we love about the postseason. So I'm fired up no matter what, and I hope the boys just have the chip on their shoulder, right? Like, they're carrying the chip on their shoulder from the entire city. 49 years without ever going to a World Series, and obviously without ever winning one. There's got to be just a large chip on the shoulder as you go through these, because if you look around at the other teams, there's so much more money invested into some of these situations and everything, and right now we're just like, hey, let the big dog eat. We'll go handle our business, and very excited to see how the rest of this whole thing plays out, and really hoping that the boys come together and finish this one in 4. We did have a question from Garth. I wanted to make sure that you were seen and heard. Garth, thank you for stopping by the way. Chances of a salary cap in MLB future, gentlemen. Oh, this one's a tough one. Connor, I'm seeing the shaking the head. No, I agree. I don't think
you want to lose a full season of baseball to try to get that to happen.
Yeah, I think the thought the thought of it is a very good idea. I think if you do a salary floor, you'd have a better chance of implementing that. However, you're going to have a lot of very upset owners because now they have to spend X amount of dollars per year. So
If there's a cap, there has to be a floor. That's how
yeah,
I view it.
yeah. If there's a cap, there definitely has to be a floor. So there has to be a range that you're in. But I was thinking at least a salary floor, so you're forcing teams like Miami to stay competitive.
Right.
I know I think in the current CBA, you have to spend at least 100 million, or there's small repercussions. I think you lose out on a draft pick, or you don't get as much of the pot money back at the end of the year and everything. So there's definitely small, like slap on the wrist stuff in place right now for the floor, but they could make it a hard cap or just a hard floor. And I think you'd have a better shot at getting that implemented. However, salary cap itself, yeah, you're going to have to do a lot of fighting with a lot of lawyers and a lot of people to kind of get that thing going. Again, the idea of it is definitely a good idea, but very hard to kind of, move in that direction. As we're talking about money and finances, something that just came out today, if you're not already on MLB trade rumors, the guys do a phenomenal job. We got our numbers out for next year, and as you kind of take a look through the order there could be definitely question for, is there anybody that we sign to a longer term deal and kind of skip this part of their career. Randy Rosarena being at $18.2 million heading into next year. Projection. This is projection, remember? So yeah, as you guys take a look at these numbers, is there anybody that kind of pops out to you? Is there any, anything that you're like, you know what, maybe we do go forward and give this guy a bigger deal, or, hey, I like where we're currently at, and this, fits into our budget moving forward. Connor, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the numbers that we're seeing here on the screen?
Yeah, I mean, you look at them like Logan Gilbert. You got, what is that, 2 more years under contract of arbitration. George Kirby, another 2+. 2+. There's none that really. It's like, obviously you want to extend Logan Gilbert, you want to extend George Kirby. Those are the names that pop out above everyone else. You got Randy Rosarena for 1 more year in a contract. He just put together like one of the best left field seasons for a Mariner in history. It's going to be great to have him for at least another year. I wouldn't necessarily. Logan Gilbert would be the guy to probably try to extend if there was a time to do it. If you can get him a little cheaper now, maybe bump up his annual salary to closer to $20 million per year for 5-6 years. But, aside from that, there aren't any other names on this list that really pop out.
Yeah.
George Kirby, obviously, but I think he's one guy that might test free agency.
I have just this gut feeling with Kirby that he's, going to test free agency. But you bring up a really good point with Logan Gilbert. He's coming off of not quite his best year. And could this be the year that you capitalize on that and get a semi-cheaper deal for a little bit longer of a deal? And you get 5 to 6 years out of it at 20 million versus if last year was the end of his rookie contract, and we're looking at trying to re-sign this guy, and he's in the Cy Young voting. He's got a sub-3 ERA, leads the team in strikeouts, has 200 plus strikeouts. You're probably looking at 25 per year for the next 4 to 6 years. So good point on Logan Gilbert and George Kirby at least being mentioned as somebody, especially as we're seeing him in the postseason, that could help his game down the road. Nolsey, what about you? What thoughts do we have on these numbers here?
I mean, I think they're solid. Randy Rosarena, I'd love to extend him. Logan Gilbert, love to extend him. George Kirby, I know at the beginning of the year they were kind of asking some of the pitchers, what do you look like your future for the Mariners? And he was kind of short, kind of mum on the whole thing. And again, he is one of our better starters. Is it one of those things of, hey, just as a Mariners kind of management, don't fight the numbers, kind of stick with them. We're going to try to get you at 3.5 or, something like that. Like, I think honestly for these, the numbers aren't bad. As long as, someone doesn't come back and say, oh, I think I'm worth twice this. I think he probably can stand pat. But again, nothing really shocks me here but these.
Yeah. And actually, I was going to go a different route with this. Is there, because I always try and view this through our ownership, and I know they're always trying to cost save. And with Trent Thornton's current situation, is he at risk? Is that $2.5 million that you could be staring back at the budget to, help go get a guy like Naylor, to help go get somebody like that? And it sucks with Trent Thornton's current situation, and just, and by cut, obviously there's professional terms of non-tendering, and just kind of, parting ways, or, is there a potential, buyback option at a cheaper price? Just curious on which direction they go with some of these guys. Obviously, Luke Raley might be in that conversation. If you go get Naylor back, he could be expendable in this situation. Gregory Santos could be expendable in this situation. However, with his controllability and what you're paying him, it's worth noting that you'll probably end up keeping him. But yeah, I just wanted to at least take a different spin on it. Yes, there are guys I definitely want to see back or see extended from this list. But is there also room for letting guys go and creating more space financially? And I say all that to say these guys love Trent Thornton. So to even mention that, I apologize, but also, yeah, there's a chance, Trent Thornton comes back because he's purely loved. That jersey hangs out in every bullpen with all those guys. So got to give a shout out to that. Jason, also, thank you for your comment. Yes, Bizzardo. We've definitely tried to cover most of the bullpen. There's been more than one person highlighted. Bizzardo has been absolutely fantastic. And then also just mentioning, Matt Brash as well. He's kind of Matt Brash, for Matt Brash numbers, wasn't quite amazing in September. So I was curious how he was going to translate to the postseason. And he's been getting outs. And that's the name of the game, just getting outs. He's been wild and letting guys on, and it's a little bit of a roller coaster Rodney situation. But the name of the game's getting outs, and he's getting outs. But yes, huge shout out to Bizzardo as well. He's been absolutely fantastic this year. I did see a crazy stat where his ERA with coming into a game when there's runners inherited, if there's runners in scoring position, his ERA was like a sub 0.5 or something like that. It was ridiculous how good he was in coming in those situations to collect an out or two and finish the inning. So the guy's got nails. He's been absolutely fantastic. Now to kind of get towards kind of the end of our session here, we want to talk and preview the series. Right now I'm looking at the probable pitchers page, and it looks like we got Logan Gilbert taking on Jack Flaherty, and a TBD with a potential for Bryce Miller and Casey Mize taking on that game 4. Previewing the next couple of games in Detroit, what are your guys' thoughts with Flaherty and Mize that we'll be seeing on the bump for the Tigers?
Yeah,
Nosy,
I mean,
I'm going to Connor. Connor, take that one.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Flaherty, he has a 8-15 with the 4.64 during the regular season. I know he has one postseason start. I think he gave up just like a run or so in like 4+ innings. I mean, I'm confident that the bats come to life. I do like the fact like Detroit is a bigger ballpark, so I think that some more balls will drop, and like with Tarek Skubal, all the pop-ups. I think that's just because of the stuff that Skubal has, and I think that the Mariners will find a lot more barrels with Flaherty, and then also with Casey Mize the next day. So, not too worried about that. Logan Gilbert, I believe it's like a minimum 100 innings pitch. He has the highest strikeouts per 9 out of any starting pitcher. So if he can just go deeper into the game, we saw Luis Castillo and George Kirby not make it 6 innings. If we can get a quality start from Logan Gilbert, I think that's going to be a big step.
Yeah, Nosy.
Yeah, I think with it's all good. And I think with Mize and Flaherty, Flaherty had a really good year. His last 3 starts resulted in 3 losses. Really was giving up the home run ball, or no, I'm sorry. No, he had 2. So I think hopefully taking at least the approach going into the postseason wasn't exactly hitting on all cylinders, and I hope for the Mariners we can take advantage of that. A bigger field, you hope some of those balls. I mean, even the ones that like Cal hit down the line, some of our other maybe faster guys can get similar hits. Are those doubles going to triples? But ultimately, bigger field, more areas for the ball to drop. Again, Connor, I think you're right. Scooble stuff is just it's filthy, and I think he's a great chess player. He knows when to pick his spots with his pitches, and you can see the results of that. So. Again, I'm not no one in that rotation minus Scooble really I'm afraid of, and even with Scooble we have handled him well in these in these 3 starts we faced him, and now with the Melton situation, I think you'd call it maybe the rookie QB phenomenon where there's not enough tape, so they're good until you get enough tape and you go, oh, that's what we needed to pinpoint on. So I think we just continue to do what we've done, just that's kind of it.
Yeah. I was going to go back to what I said towards the beginning of this show. I think you need a statement game, and I think Flaherty is the guy that you can make that statement game happen. And you can just get into the bullpen, hopefully early, start to kind of wear and tear on that bullpen, and just kind of, make that statement game. Hey, we can hit. Hey, we can put up, 5, 6, 7 runs, if not more than that. And I think if it happens on this next game, you set yourself up. I mean, obviously you set yourself up for success, but you're not one win away. And it's very, very, very difficult when you're on the ropes to come back, even at home, as we've seen as Mariner fans just a couple years ago. It is tough on the ropes when it's win or go home. And it was our first home game in the postseason in 20 plus years. And granted, it was a great game. We went 18 innings. We still found ourselves on the losing end. It is tough when you're on the ropes. So a statement game would be the absolute best. And I understand without Naylor potentially, a statement game's maybe slightly more difficult, but I think we have the pieces in place to make a statement game, especially in a ballpark of that stature, and especially with who we got going on. I'm excited to see Logan Gilbert in the postseason. From 2022 to now, I think we're in for an absolute treat on the mound. I'm hoping I'm correct, but you just never know. But man, a statement game, just an absolute chip on the shoulder. Hey, we're here. Hey, we're gonna score 6 runs. You got to at least worry about our offense. That's kind of where it's kind of where I'll leave it on that note. But just to kind of wrap everything up, any final thoughts leaving these past 2 games? It's a 1-1 scenario. The rest of the league's all up 2-0 or close to 2-0. And just as we enter the rest of this postseason, any final thoughts, fellas?
That Mariners Blue Jays series in Seattle is going to be electric. I mean, the regular season series versus Blue Jays, they come and pack the house. We see the ticket prices now. Imagine it's the Mariners Blue Jays in Seattle. It's going to be a lot of fun to see that series because Mariners in 4 of this series.
Mariners in 4. Let's go, baby. I'm fired up. People from Vancouver are just going to be fired up if that's the series.
Yeah.
Nosy, what about you?
I mean, really can't say much more than we've said today. Just play Mariners baseball. I mean, I feel like you look at play Mariners baseball. You've seen what we've done all year. You see what happens when we can get our pitching and hitting to click on the same night. It's quite magical. So Mariners in 4, and then let's go play some Blue Jays.
Yeah. And just to kind of piggyback off of Connor, I'm also not, I wouldn't be, granted, they're absolutely getting mollywopped right now, but I wouldn't be unhappy with facing the Yankees and just seeing a Cal Raleigh versus Aaron Judge showdown. And obviously with all the discourse between Yankees fans and Mariners fans going on right now, you just know that that's also going to be electric. So hopefully we can get past this game, or hopefully we can get past this series. This is you're staring down the barrel of a very, very, very good series coming into that ALCS and everything. For Up West Sports, I'm Gavin. I think I'm going the right way. Yeah, we got Kyle, and then we got Connor as well. Connor, thank you again for joining. Thanks
for having me.
Life's too short. Gas up your boys.